We are looking back at some of the best moments of the last 12 months because OTB AM is 12 months old today. Able to walk on our own now nearly, to feed ourselves and wipe our own arses. Not really, not yet. Here's the mountain. Talking about Conor McGregor from Game of Thrones. It's on this screen here, I think, now. Yeah. So he's a little bit smaller than you. That's the bit where he's kind of...
At this moment, I knew I could take him down, but I just didn't want to break him.
Could you break him?
I could.
It feels that way, yeah?
He felt very light. And there as well, you know, I had him a few times.
There.
But I just didn't want to break him.
He's quick on his feet.
He's quick, and he was very slippery as well, so it was hard to get a grip on him. But there were at least 2 moments, I think, I could have just messed him.
And is that hurting you when he's jabbing you in the torso?
Not too bad, you know. There's a huge size difference, obviously, between me and him.
There's a beautiful...
But I'm not used to getting punched, obviously, and I'm no fighter, so my technique is just like... I'm wearing jeans and just some shoes on. I just took my shirt off and we were just joking, and he was just enjoying himself to punch some fucking big wood there.
There he's starting to punch you in the stomach, and that's...
Yeah. I wasn't ready for this, and I was... Obviously, I'm a big guy. I was like, just fuck this. I'm not gonna run after this small guy. He's running around, you know, and...
That was a sneaky...
And I don't have cardio for running around after a small guy, so I'm not
sneaky knee in the rib cage at the end there as well.
Yeah.
It seemed like he was taking that pretty seriously.
He was.
Yeah.
He was.
Like afterwards, when you extend a hand, he's like, all right, okay, it's over now. Whereas before that, it was still game face on for Conor McGregor.
I mean, bring me a shorts and put us in a cage and, you know, I'll fight you again.
How long would it take for you to win?
If I would get a grab on him, 10 seconds.
10 seconds, okay.
Yeah.
And how many Conor McGregors would it take to beat you?
I don't know. I mean, maybe 5.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
I'm sure SBG could put up 5 of similar weight fighters if you wanted to make that happen.
You could definitely get 100 million on pay-per-view if they're going to give it to Floyd Mayweather for his fight. We learned about Tommy Walsh and his odd boots a little earlier in the summer as well. Have a look at this.
Tommy Walsh flirted with an idea of wearing one boot of stud and one boot of moldies. As you would know, Tommy would do. I don't think it'll last too long. I remember asking him, like, which foot would you wear? And he said, always turn on one foot, so that would always have the stud and the other was moldy. So there was a bit of talk got into it.
Good morning to you, Tommy Walsh. How you doing?
Good morning, lads.
Come on, tell us the story behind this.
Well, you see, the whole idea, it kind of started way back before then, Ger. As a young fella, obviously, you wear whatever boot you get, whatever your parents buy for you. And sure, that time, it didn't really matter. There were long cogs, there were short cogs, whatever. And you wore them from, 9, 10 years of age. So then I remember Liam Keown was obviously the county man in Tullaroan that time. And it was a big thing when you're on the county panel. You got a new pair of Puma Kings moldies. And I remember, like, every year you'd probably get them, or maybe that time it was for getting to an All-Ireland final. So I remember he gave my father a pair that he had used. He must have got a new pair, and he gave him a pair that he was after using. And I used to go out into the garden, obviously shooting that time, and there was a field beside us. I was after getting a new goalpost. I was after shifting it out. So I was spending all the winter out there. But I used so that your socks probably got wet anyway. But instead of wearing wellies, which your parents were probably trying to get you to wear out in the field, I used to wear these boots, and I thought they were the greatest things of all time. I used to run faster. I used to play better. So I used to love these moldies. But then when we got the new Crow Park, you see, I think it was around 2002 when I was coming on the scene, and it was a different pitch that time where I think it was it really hard or something underneath, but the grass, there was plenty of grass on it, but there was a lot of slipping and sliding going on in the early years. So they were saying, even though we're in the height of the summer, you should wear your long cogs. So I wore them in the semi-final of 2003, and I also wore them in the final, and I was took off in both matches. So I said, I'm never wearing cogs again. And I wasn't after wearing them in a good few years. And so then 2004, I flirted with the idea of wearing one of each. But you know what happened that day? I was sent off in the quarter-final against Clare. So, so that put an end to all that. Back to the Moldies. But then I had a big scare. It wasn't my scare. It was 2004 semi-final against Watford. And Mick Kavanagh comes up to me before the match and he said, what boots are you wearing today, Tommy? And I said, I'm wearing the Moldies. But I forgot to tell him it didn't matter what kind of weather's out there, I was going to wear Moldies. So he said, right, yeah. And he pawned the Moldies. And there was about a minute to go, and a few minutes to go, and there wasn't much in it. Probably only 2 pints. And Paul O'Brien, who's after having a great summer coming on, I think is a sub for Watford that time. A ball came in behind me. I looked around, and here was Cavan on the ground. I thought Paul O'Brien had a great chance of a goal, and I think our goalie saved it at the time. But yeah, that was my story with boots.
And did Michael Kavanagh blame you afterwards about the Moldies?
Yeah, sure, listen, we won, and there's a great picture of the two of us where you'll probably see it on Google or one of these things where we were arms around each other, and I think it was more relief that all worked out in the end than anything else. But we were great friends. We probably just had plenty of slagging and jeering after it.
That's one of our highlights from earlier on in the year. Tommy was we were in Kilkenny at the weekend and driving in and around the city, and the Intermediate Club Championship final was live on the radio. And Tullaroan were hammering Greg Ballycallan, so he's from Tullaroan. Obviously the Walsh's Greg Ballycallan is Eddie Brennan's team, and we went off anyway because we had a family thing on and came back out, and the taxi driver hadn't heard the end of the match and told us, oh yeah, Tullaroan won that. And then the next day I was looking it up, and it was a massive scoring blitz of 1-4, 1-5 in the last 3 minutes. Got Greg Ballycallan over the line, so they got beaten in the county final at the weekend.
40-year-old Eddie Brennan still doing his stuff.
Yeah, apparently he was absolutely sensational.
Playing centre forward, conducting the orchestra.
So there you go. They won 216 to 213. So I'd say it was a disappointing week in Tullaroan hurling history, because they would have been getting back up senior if they'd done that. So maybe everybody's wearing the Moldies.
He can always console himself with his Imro Award.
Oh yeah,
very true actually. Yeah. Has he got that yet?
I don't think we've handed it over.
We need to do that as an official presentation.
A ceremonial handing over. Right, so here's next. Obviously the hurling season had some amazing stories, none better than the Limerick story. The morning after Limerick's All-Ireland hurling final victory, we had Cian Lynch on live from the team hotel, and we brought up the fact that his ma somehow managed to get her way through the security cordon and find him in the aftermath of the game. Have a look.
The mother actually hopped over the fence and got onto the pitch in Croke Park yesterday. I'd say there's still no warrant out for her, but you know, it means so much to everyone, like, which is unbelievable. So
I don't know if you've seen the photograph yet, but there's an amazing photograph of you and your mum just hugging on the pitch.
Is there? I didn't see it now at all. She probably has it already herself.
Oh, it's class. It's in the papers. It's
is it?
Yeah. We found it on info anyway, so we'll send it to you. But it's just,
it'd be great.
It's just brilliant. Do you remember? Did you talk to her? Do you remember anything you actually said to her?
No. Even lads were saying what to feel like after the game. Like, but I kind of put the head down. I actually struggled to breathe for a few minutes, like, because you're kind of saying, "Jeez, we're after winning All Ireland, like it's a dream come true." But I remember the mother. She jumped up out of nowhere and I grabbed her and just put the head on her shoulder, and it was actually a moment where I could actually just breathe for a second and kind of take in my own surroundings and realise, you know what, this is what it's about. You know, she was the woman that was there for me from the very beginning with the whole family, like, and just to see her there on the pitch, whether there's shorts after her or there's shorts not, like, just see her smiling and going around to everyone, you know, it puts it all into perspective, really.
I don't know if your phone is charged, but Tommy has just WhatsApped you the picture there if you want to have a look at it. I don't know if you're getting photographs or if you managed to plug it in last night, you were doing pretty well.
I'm Tommy Rooney. Hold on here now a second.
There you go, that's it.
If that's the only message on his phone this morning now, he hasn't.
I have another oh jeez, I see it. Some hid me, don't I? Jesus, yeah, that's lovely now, in fairness. She'd be delighted with that.
It is class, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Like, that's one of the highlights of the hurling summer right there. Just in that little moment.
I love the fan footage that emerged from the crowd of her kind of getting through. That you could see somebody the next day was like, oh, hang on a second, and then you could identify Valerie running onto the pitch. Because security is obviously very tight. They don't want people on the pitch, but she managed to get through.
They obviously knew who she was. Or what would happen if there was like a one-size-fits-all policy, and it was like, well,
Mas are allowed. Let the Mas on.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
A secret, unuttered, never, no, completely denied. But like,
but do these Mas have to have some sort of certificate with them some sort of biological passport. Like how anybody could hop on and say, actually, no, I'm Cian Lynch's ma. So there has to be some sort of a screening process.
You don't look like Cian Lynch's ma.
Yeah, exactly. I was sitting at home watching that show and I just thought, I know self-praise is no praise, given that I am an off-the-baller, but you just nailed it that morning. To get Cian Lynch sitting in the lobby and the line that clear and that moment with the photo, bravo.
You were crying, were you?
I wasn't crying that time.
You had a little tear in your eye.
No.
I wondered, so she was obviously, say, in the Hogan or in the Cusack, and she just hopped over, the way they put that netting over the first 3 rows. She roll across that and
flip,
something like that. But basically, I'm sure, no disrespect to Valerie Lynch, but I'm sure there's plenty of other people who'd be able to do what she did. That basically, if you wanted to invade the pitch in Croke Park, it is possible. If there's a large groundswell of people in one section of the ground, it's doable.
Yeah, I mean, the Kerry Mafia, eventually when Kerry stopped the 10 in a row, you guys will all be there pounding away at the security guards, making your way on to embrace all the returning AFLers who have finally come back home to stop the unstoppable march of Dublin.
That's a beautiful thought. I'm really looking forward to
but
that.
It doesn't mean you're going to have to wait another 6 years.
Andy Lee's done some great work with us over the course of the last year, and no more so than his brilliant interview with Seamus McDonagh. McDonagh was back in Ireland during the summer, and he caught up with him for an interview, and they talked about his fight with Evander Holyfield.
You could have been an inch either way of either of you going down.
Yeah. Would you believe I've thought about that for the last 25 years ago, 27 years ago, 28 years ago, Jeannie Mac. I've thought about that fight probably almost every day for the last 28 years, It never leaves us.
How does it sit with you now?
Well, of course I always kind of wish it was different, and I wish I'd just calm down a bit and not try to knock out the number 1 heavyweight in the world. I wish I just relaxed more and taken it easy and just moved around, not try to knock them out, which was a bit of an insane, but...
Will you try and move around Tony? Is that your plan? Not try to knock him out straight away?
Go straight through him, I think, is the tactic.
That is a brilliant interview, by the way. If you haven't seen it, Seamus McDonagh is one of those he's got that charisma. It's funny how a lot of boxers are performers. You think about the fight game, your job is to win the fight, but your job is also to make as much money as you can by fighting. And so therefore you automatically make more money if you're something of a performer, if you carry yourself as a performer. And he just had that kind of natural charisma that...
It wasn't forced.
And it seems to separate, maybe you only make it to a certain level because you have a charisma, and I don't know what comes first.
It must be. There has to be some truth in what you say there, because it's so unusual that one sport at the very top echelons can have so many characters compared to literally every other sport. So there has to be some sort of link between your charisma and what that actually equates to in the ring. I guess you've got to be balls to put your head on the line like that. And that comes from that sort of showmanship that dictates charisma, I guess.
You can only put yourself in a position for your charisma to take us further if you've got the ingrained talent at the start. Like a showman at the age of 18, 19 is not going to find himself in a position to win a world title. But you can earn more and develop your boxing character far more than your talent maybe allows you to do if you're a talker, if you're brash, if you're a salesperson. So you need to be like the David Beckham of boxing, really wonderful footballer, but got an awful lot more out of his talent than maybe his talent should have allowed him to.
In terms of money?
Yeah, in terms of money, the brand, the longevity of his career. Now,
he was an astonishingly hard worker.
A lot of goes into dedication as well, and you have to be hugely admiring of the way Beckham kept himself.
Also an incredible athlete.
Playing central midfield for PSG in the Champions League at the age of 35.
Badly.
Yeah, but he convinced somebody to put him in there. It's not just about selling shirts, but...
he's in the top 10 most famous footballers ever, is he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, easily.
Is he anywhere near as talented as the rest of the people who share that same label?
Well, he's nowhere near the top 10 most talented footballers ever.
So you got likes of Pele, Maradona, etc., and David Beckham is
I don't know how far down the list
just as big a name, but
oh yeah, exactly,
nowhere near the level of talent.
And there would be boxers. If those who know more about the fight game could probably come up with a better comparison to David Beckham, somebody who was, yes, talented, but got far more out of the boxing career than maybe their talent would have suggested as they were entering the fray.
I think it's hard to know, because in boxing at least there's the meritocracy of the really boring Eastern European boxer who never speaks and is dour, or the Cuban who never speaks and is dour and who doesn't thrill the crowd but kills you because he punches harder than you, faster than you, better than you. At least in football, you can hide within the team a little bit and the marketing can take off, and it doesn't really matter if your team loses a game here or a game there, or you miss a penalty, whatever. You get sent off in a big game. Marketing can recover, but if you keep getting beaten by the better boxer, you ain't going to be making the money for too long. So
no.
More meritocracy there. One final boxing piece for you. Niall Kennedy is a heavyweight boxer. He's also a guard, Joe Conroy, and Andy went down to visit him in Wexford at a key moment in his life. Have a look.
8 victories, 5 of them coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the 7-time Irish National Amateur Champion and the current Massachusetts Heavyweight State Champion. Hailing from Wexford, Ireland, please welcome Niall Boom Boom Kennedy.
One of the not the reason I had to talk to you, but the Santos fight, huge fight.
Yeah, massive fight. Yeah.
You took a big chance.
Took a risk. Yeah. No one told me it was as big a risk, but I took it.
Huge underdog going over there, and not only all that on your mind. You had your son was born, MJ, prematurely.
Yeah,
he was in the hospital. Would you say like he was fighting for his life, battling?
He was at that stage. Yeah, he would have been. So he would have still been in the intensive care unit in the neonatal ward.
Yeah.
So he was in hospital for 55 days in total. Oh no, his arm.
His arm.
That's how big his arm was when he was born. And they usually leave him loose fitting, don't they?
Yeah.
And did you watch the fight?
No.
Live?
No.
Do you ever watch him fight?
No.
Yeah.
The night he was fighting, I had to express every 3 hours for MJ. So I woke up and I checked my phone and the fights were on.
Yeah.
And he was literally just about to come into the ring. So I had my iPhone on my pillow, I had the fight on that, and I put Coronation Street on my iPad and watched Coronation Street, and every few minutes I'd check over to see if he was still alive. But I hate watching it, really do.
I was walking,
Yeah, it's understandable enough, I suspect. So, still unbeaten. Now 11-1, I think. 11 wins and 1 draw. That's Niall Kennedy. And Carbon had a bit of a career from fighting generally in the States, almost exclusively since over the last 2 years. So, building up a little bit of a following and hopefully getting an opportunity to make a payday once or twice. That kind of would be amazing for him at this stage.
Does he sell? Is he a seller?
He could potentially be. Like, I think in terms of an amicable character, he definitely has that. But it is amazing watching some of his fights and some of the arenas, if you can use that term, that he fights in, like ballrooms in the deep south and things like that. It's quite the career, it's quite the journey, and hopefully it kind of materialises in that big payday, which would be fantastic for him, because I think he's just one of those Irish boxers we can all get behind.
Totally, yeah. So let's move on. Irish football, it's obviously not been the best 12 months since we went on air. Basically, have we won a game?
Moldova.
Any other games?
Wales.
USA.
No, since
we've been on there.
Wales was November, wasn't it?
Was it?
No.
Playoffs. Wasn't it?
No.
The playoffs were November then.
The playoffs, that was it.
So maybe we just didn't get into the Welsh game in Cardiff, just didn't make the 1 year window.
Didn't.
No,
you're ruining Tommy's
Denmark away was our first game.
It's been a tough year or so in Irish football, but God, didn't everything look so rosy when OTB AM began last Halloween, it says here. Here's what happened when we sent Nathan, Joe and Kev to Copenhagen for the first leg. Oh, how full of hope and piss and vinegar we were of last year's World Cup playoff against Denmark.
I do think we'll do it, and I'm very positive. Like I say, I'm probably my problem being is I'm probably too positive. That's the thing.
Like, where's this confidence come from that we're going to get through all of a sudden?
Never mind you. Where's the confidence come from? I don't know. I think it's I don't know. Ultimate optimist. I think that's where it is, Joe. Jeez.
So I'm not saying Copenhagen is expensive, but we have just spent the entire off-the-ball budget on this cup of coffee and this little old flat white. I'm going to go €14 for the two of them.
No. Malmo is... You sound like you've been talking to Kevin Kilban, who has done nothing but bitch and moan about the fact that we're staying in a completely different country to where the match is on.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
let's hear Copenhagen.
It's cheaper here though, isn't it? Honestly, God.
I live here.
Yeah. I was like 20 minutes. I was 20 minutes down the road. Yeah, we're staying here, yeah. It's down the road, isn't it? So we come to the big playoff game, big World Cup playoff game, and some bright sport decides, I'll tell you what, we're going to stay in Malmo, not Copenhagen. So that's what Nathan decides to do, put us in a different country. So here we are, crossing the bridge, crossing the border here, between Malmo all the way into Copenhagen now.
So I thought when I was booking this was the smart option, but nobody else seems to agree. As I'm just name dropping here, on Thursday night when we had Peter Schmeichel at the Roadshow, Peter was asking where we're staying in Copenhagen, and I said Malmo, and the look in his face was akin to the look in his face when I asked him about Roy Keane. He just sort of stared at me, stared right through me for about 3 minutes, and he didn't think it was a good idea, and nobody we've met since thought it was a good idea. It's not a good idea because they've got different currencies, which doesn't help matters. It's very confusing.
Yeah. So the bridge, obviously, I'm only putting this together now. The eponymous bridge that is the detective series. I don't know if you're into your Danish TV, but it's brilliant.
I'm familiar with it, but I've never watched it.
Borgen is brilliant. The bridge is also stunningly good, right? And there's always a murder involving the bridge, or kind of where there needs to be cross-cooperation between the Malmo police and the Copenhagen police, which obviously, as you can imagine, is a culture clash. It's like, traditional 1970s detective series set up here where these two people aren't going to get along, and the tension comes from that. But if the bridge, obviously, it's like there's always murder there. Irish football murdered.
Well, but
ultimately by the Danes in that series.
My favourite part of that video is Nathan's phone face. I wonder to see pull those expressions every time he's on the phone.
What was he doing?
Just kind of like being like, it was as if he was like playing in a pantomime, except the person on the other line obviously couldn't hear him because the phone was up to his ear. But it's just one observation of many that you can make from that video. A thrilling piece of work.
Okay. There you go. Wow, shots fired by... it's like...
It was true.
It's almost like he's in...
The murder occurs in that bridge. It is thrilling.
Constant hype mode now. Okay, so we obviously weren't at the World Cup. We did make sure that we didn't miss out on any of the memories. Here's John Duggan.
Good morning, guys. Dobro Utra from Russia. It's like any other global city in the world, lads. It's just the Bolshevik hat, and I'm putting it on right now. It's not like the Bourne Identity, folks. It's another global city like any other. I never thought I would wear this hat. I bought it when I bought the Ushanka. But given the day that's in it and what's happened here in the last 24 hours, I had to take out the hat and wear it today. So, it's just what a day. What a day for Russia.
Good afternoon yourself. Tell us about Ulyanovsk, John, because this is something that's come onto our radar today, and we're all very intrigued by this.
Yeah, it's a city kind of not too far from Kazan in Russia, and is where Lenin was born, of course, the revolutionary leader. And I've got contacts over here, and I've been offered the freedom of the city of Ulyanovsk.
How do you get the freedom of a city, a massive city with 600,000 people of a population? This is no little village, John. Like, how do you get approached? Do you make an inquiry?
I was just told the freedom has been offered.
By who?
By the mayoral office.
The mayor of the town?
Not the actual mayor. Don't be quizzing me. Don't be quizzing me like prime-time journalists. And it's not prime time. When the ceremony happens, you'll find out. We'll get all the information for you. We'll get you we'll show you the papers that have been stamped and all the ceremonial scrolls and everything. So let's just chill out until it happens. Well, this is a very important building behind me, lads. It's the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg. This was the residence of the monarchy in Russia. It was the capital of Russia, St. Petersburg.
Yeah, beautiful buildings. Beautiful, happy times.
My heart is gladdened revisiting those memories of speaking to John Duggan every morning and afternoon. I loved it. He was one of the bright leading lights of the summer.
I kind of forgotten that the World Cup was this year. It's like
I had serious culture envy watching all of that.
Yeah.
As I did.
He covered it all.
Yeah, he had everything. He said the food was bad, which obviously kind of punctured my culture envy to a certain extent. He says that actually, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to disclose information, he said that he lived off Western food for most of his time over there. So, you know, he thought it was an authentic World Cup diary. Then he better think again.
In fairness, he fessed up to that the whole way through.
Like, I must have just drifted off during those sections.
All right, former Irish Celtic and Man United midfielder Liam Miller passed away on the 8th of February this year at the age of 36. Having left a young family behind, a tribute match was organised in his memory for September. I don't know if you remember, there was a massive controversy around this, which all now seems to have been a whole storm about nothing and just chronically mishandled on one side. 1.5, 1.6 million, $1 million is going into a fund for the Miller family, so unbelievably successful, a real outpouring of emotion from the people of Cork and from the wider country as well. Ultimately the game does get fixed for Páirc Uí Chaoimh. This is what Damien Duff had to say on OTB AM back in August.
I think it's a disgrace. I think it's Gaelic people and whoever makes the decision saying rule books and they don't have their AGM till next February. It's a load of crap. It's archaic. You know, it's just dinosaurs making decisions. You know, a young man has passed away, left a young family behind, and all they're looking to do is play a game that will bring people together. Firstly, it'd be a lovely occasion and will help Liam Miller's family. So I just find it absolutely disgraceful that they can't open the gates of their stadium for one day. So I think, I don't know, I don't read media or whatever, I'd like to think that's what everyone's feelings is on it, but I find it a disgrace, and it's just same old dinosaurs in GAA making the same old decisions.
Are you surprised by what's happened?
I am, my aunt. You know, you hear a lot about the GAA people. Yeah, I know they opened Croke Park for the senior internationals years back, but, you know, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like I said, it's just a game of football. And that's all I can call them, dinosaurs. So I don't know, they're hinting now that they might open their doors. I don't know, it's PR wise, I think it's been awful for GAA, and rightly so.
But the thing is, it could have been such an easy PR win for them as well had they made the U-turn straight away.
Yeah. Oh, listen, even if they open the doors now and the game is played there, I still think they come out of it looking awful. So it's a lose-lose for them now. And it serves them right. So it makes my blood boil, and I can only imagine how everyone on the committee feels about it as well. So absolute disgrace, but not really surprised.
Luckily, somebody within the GAA did step in and find a way for the right decision to be made. And ultimately, it was a good day for Páirc Uí Chaoimh and a good day for the city and a good day for the stadium and for the investment in the stadium. But I do think that stuff like Damien Duff helped to just make sure that everybody was galvanised and go. There was a bit of a backlash to Duff, like, "Whoa, you can't, the FAI, what about?" Which, like, is my favourite. What about?
The thing that the players were all in favour of Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and then they immediately regretted calling for Páirc Uí Chaoimh as soon as they were out on the massive surface, and they were tired as they've ever been. But ultimately, it worked out for the best, I think, for everyone.
And that, like the game, the amount of money that was raised and the memories from the day are thankfully the lasting memories of that entire project. But God, remember that week when the GAA just made such a mistake. And unfortunately for the GAA, it was at a time where it was not just the only controversy that was kind of doing the rounds at the time. There were
New Bridge or Nowhere was
New Bridge or Nowhere in there as well, and it just was it wasn't a good fortnight for them. And yeah, they made the right call in the end, but I remember there was a statement released where they talked about how they had sought legal advice on the matter, and it was just not the right tone.
Tony Lean, in his piece today, talking about the committee held a press conference yesterday, and Michael Flynn revealed how much money has been raised and the various other charities that are going to benefit from it. He was saying that already Páirc Uí Chaoimh and Munster are in conversation about potentially having if there's a relevant Heineken Cup semi-final there at some point, because you can't have a semi-final in your home stadium, you need to nominate a stadium. That would be amazing. But like, we need to get to that point where it's a phone call as opposed to a national outpouring of annoyance, pissed offness. Everybody kind of sees this as a community facility. We're now the GA are going to use that facility to raise money to help pay for the coaching in the Munster region. Like, it makes perfect sense for everybody.
Yeah, it does. And look, ultimately, when we're looking back on it, the GA made the right decision in both cases. Now, it took a little bit of pressure, but they did make the right decision, and they were in a position where they were willing to back down. You could say were they left with any wriggle room when it came to that, but the GA did make the right call. Somebody in the GA decided we need to have a look at this. Ultimately, Kildare played Mayo and Newbridge, and the Liam Miller tribute match was played in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and that's what the history books will tell us.
Staying with GAAM, Fitzmaurice stepped aside this summer and granted Owen and OTBAM the exclusive interview about why this in particular was a standout moment for their 40-minute Kerry Love-In.
Something that changed this summer was players, and one player in particular that got a letter, and it was more what was in the letter that was what annoyed me, and I felt it was gone too far. That the player was told in the letter to jump off a cliff and take 3 or 4 other players with him that were named in the letter, and I felt that was going way too far. And as I said, when it's coming at a manager, and the selectors got a few this summer as well, which was no harm for them either to get a touch of it. But when it goes to a player, really, it's gone too far.
Yeah, look, it was great to get that insight and to see exactly the level of stress that these managers are under and the players are under. And I do think Eamon Fitzmaurice is going to be a brilliant pundit wherever he ends up over the next while. Explaining what it's like to be trying to stop Dublin, what your plan might be, how the kick-out strategy impacts, as opposed to some of the type of punditry that we see where it's like broad brush strokes, paint by numbers, have a bit of a row and off you go. Because I hope that has had a day. Yeah,
I was in Fitzgerald Stadium that night when they hammered Kildare, but you knew with half an hour remaining in the game that it wasn't going to be their day, because Monaghan were giving Galway the mother of all thrashings in Salt Hill.
What were Galway thinking? What the hell were they thinking?
I still get pissed off about that.
I mean, you should. What the hell were they thinking?
What were they thinking?
Oh, let's play a game against Dublin next.
But they picked a strong team,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't go for it.
When you say what were they thinking, you literally mean what were they thinking? In that their mindset on the night was just not what it needed to be.
Easy Ozzy, we don't need to win this game.
But you see, they didn't need to win it.
That
was the problem for them.
They absolutely did. You have to avoid Dublin, Dublin in an All-Ireland final.
They were better off.
Dublin have underperformed in All-Ireland finals versus the quality of the games that we've seen them play.
No, I don't think
Even
any of the Galway
Tyrone
players... all the right things would have been said in the Galway camp in the build-up to the game. We don't want to play Dublin. We're going to go out and hammer Monaghan. We're going to show everybody we are what we think we are.
This is our stadium.
Developed. Exactly. But then, ultimately, when you have to go and win that 50-50 challenge, your heart's just not in it.
And Monaghan needed to win, in fairness. You've got to give them credit for that performance as well that evening.
The pitch invasion at the end of the game was one of the moments of the summer as well.
Without question.
But I was down in the bells of Fitzgerald Stadium waiting for Fitzmaurice to come out and talk to us, and the rumour started to filter through that he has had a long conversation.
Right.
His little girl and his wife are down in the dressing room as well, and he has told them he will not be there next year. And it was an emotional evening.
I'd like to have seen one last crack with that Kerry team against the Dubs. It would have been a far better All-Ireland final, semi-final sequence. Kerry, Dublin, ultimately Dublin, Galway in the final.
You want to see Clifford against Dublin sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
In Croke Park on a dry day.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think that's one of the reasons why it was a very unfulfilling football championship across the year.
There's no heavyweight clash because we've been reduced to 3 heavyweight teams.
Well, one really. There was no heavyweight clash because there was only one heavyweight. The best four teams made it to the All-Ireland.
I don't know, but I don't know about that though either. I think if you had any combination of Dublin, Mayo or Kerry in an All-Ireland semi-final or final, it would have made a better game than literally any other game that we saw this summer.
I think so, I agree. One last clip for you here before we get into 2 final stories. Kenny Cunningham has brought us some amazing moments in the show over the last year. Too many to bring you right now. Maybe we'll do a full special Kenny Christmas special. We will, I promise you now. Kenny's Christmas special coming to you the week of Christmas when you're hungover on your way into work on I can't face this. We will give you an hour and a half of pure unadulterated joy that week, I promise you, after your Christmas party, and it'll be there, a repository of Kenny's goodness forever that no one can ever take down, unless of course he's libeled somebody. But anyway, Most of them were too long-winded to find a short clip, obviously, as well. Except for this one. It was when Kenny met Kenny, Richard Cooper in studio alongside Kenny Cunningham, playing Kenny Cunningham.
Like, there's some people, like, you know...
I thought it was on that. I might get bothered about at this particular moment in time. No, but at the same time, we got to move on. You got to park it and move on. You know, it doesn't bother me at this particular moment in time.
Well, he can't, after the game last night, my mum was watching. She said, I thought you were taking you out. Was Keith Andrews.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I was in the kitchen, I could hear it. Yeah. I thought they said, why are they taking off Ken on the after match, lads? She thought it was the similarities between the way Keith
and the hairstyle, obviously, was.
That's a week. Come on, lay yourself down there.
No, when you see
know it better than me. The pitch, you know it better than me.
No, well, you know the wig that we use for Keith Andrews. I mean, I look like somebody from The Cure. Like I look like Robert Smith from The Cure. But it's hard to exaggerate his hair. He has an incredible set of hair.
He's got grey hair.
Grey
hair, to be fair.
But even when he cuts it short, like even if it's like a crew cut for you and me, it still seems to be kind of like
fulsome.
Yeah, fulsome.
It's a joy for you. I bet you were delighted when you saw he was on the panel for the summer, weren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. I think he's very good. Honestly, I do. I think he's very composed and because honestly, I don't think it's easy to slot in there with you know certain people who only give you a certain slot, give you a certain amount of time, and if they don't take to you. You know, they make your life very, very difficult.